Famer Randy Moss, Adam Schefter. I'm Susie Kalber. And guys, we're going to start with some news off of Sunday because it was a big divisional win for the Browns, but it came at a big loss.
Odell Beckham Jr., their star wide receiver, tore his ACL. He will be out for the remainder of this season. And I think the question now becomes, will he be back in time for the start of next season? He's going to be 28 years old soon enough. At that point in time, the rehab from an injury like this, usually about a year. Sometimes they say it takes a player 2 years until he comes back to full form. And so basically you have the situation here where he's out for a year.
I'm probably going to beat myself up about that one for a long time. He's a guy that fights for this team. In doing that, I got hurt. So prayers and hopes for the best. But that one sucks.
We were in there around him during halftime, and, it was just hard seeing him, in pain. I just remember him telling me, gave me a handshake and said, "Go be great."
Incredibly disappointed for him. I know injuries are part of this game, but I just hate to see that. The energy he brings to practice, the energy he brings to games, no one else is going to be able to bring that type of juice. But the guys understand that the show must go on and what's at stake, and that guys have to step up.
So it seems like all day I'm hearing this narrative about Baker Mayfield, a better connection with other receivers, higher percentages. But Randy, in this case, is it really about the stats? Are the stats telling the whole story?
No, Susie, I think when you have a player such as OBJ's caliber, it's his presence being on the field. It's the respect that he receives being on the field by the defense. Will he draw 2? Will he draw 3? And I think in the Cleveland Browns' presence, OBJ is going to be missed tremendously in this offense. But you have to give credit when credit is due. Baker Mayfield, when he went out, 81% completion percentage and able to deliver the ball to other pass catchers out there. The Cleveland Browns going forward, and what I mean about his physical presence being on the field book, there's teams now are going to be able to stack the box against that run and make other pass catchers like Jarvis Landry, Higgins, guys like that, they only become number ones. Those guys are going to have to step up in OBJ's absence. You talked about Baker playing a little better when Odell went out. I think his presence will be missed, but for Baker Mayfield now, when the play's called in his mind, Baker Mayfield doesn't have to think, man, where's OBJ going to be? I have to get the ball to OBJ. Baker can now process the play, look at the defense, and just play football. I think that's why you saw Baker Mayfield have a day. 22 for 28, 297, 5 touchdowns. He only had 6 incompletions on the day. He was very efficient. Losing OBJ doesn't make them a better team. Let's get that straight. You don't become better losing good players. But maybe, just maybe, it allows the quarterback to play a little bit more freer. And just last week, everyone was crushing Baker Mayfield about, can Baker Mayfield get it done? What's happening? I think right now what you saw this yesterday, Baker was relaxed. He went through his reads, and he just distributed the football, and that's what you want from the quarterback.
And other guys made plays. And when Kevin Stefanski got hired from Minnesota to Cleveland, he was hired because also the run game that he was bringing. And so now they will continue to run the football. They'll get Nick Chubb back at some point in time. They have Kareem Hunt. They're going to run the football, I think.
Steve, give us the quarterback's perspective on this.
Well, I love it. Boog thinks that, we lose Odell Beckham and things get better. But I do get your point, Boog. I get that, but you hate to miss him. I think more than anything, there's a superstructure that's been built very quickly by Kevin Stefanski. For the first time in a couple of generations, I feel like just after 12 padded practices and 6 ball games, this is a Browns team that's going to get better and substantively better. Not going to be so mercurial, up and down, big expectation, big flops. And I think that's going to help the quarterback. And what it does is it sets the foundation so now we can put the focus truly on Baker. And Baker needs to be less reckless, less feeling like he has to go win everything and I can do it all. You can't. And I think he's got to find that fine line. Yesterday, great. Week before, not so great. Typical of a young player. But I think the foundation being built now allows him to feel that direct focus and say, I now need to play better. I need to be more substantive. I need to make sure that I don't, go recklessly around throwing the ball over the field and make sure that I do things to help us win football games.
Yeah, Stephen, I think you make a great point. They're not going to be a better team without OBJ, but the quarterback can play better. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. The Cleveland Browns are 5. Right. The Cleveland Browns are 5-2. They've beaten the teams that they should beat. Baltimore and Pittsburgh, they got embarrassed on the field.
Yes.
So when the Browns go against a good football team, can this Baker Mayfield show up? To me, that's the biggest difference between the guy we saw yesterday and the guy we saw against Pittsburgh. When can we see that guy in a big game, Susie, Randy, Adam, against some of the better teams in the league?
Adam, real quick before we move on, what do you think his future is? He's been hurt a lot.
Listen, he's going to be 28 years old. So you have to figure he comes back at that point in time, 29. You wonder if he can get back to be the great receiver that he was. Look at all the injuries that he's had through the course of his career. He's missed a lot of time. Take a look at all the injuries. Torn ACL this year, the quad injury last year, the fractured ankle in 2017, the hamstring. He's going to miss the rest of this year. It's a lot of time missed. It's a lot of toll on the body, and everybody wants to see him get back at full strength. But, again, he's getting older, not younger.
He's missed 25 out of the last 64 games. All right, so we know that the AFC North is going to be a battle to the end. But let's talk about which teams maybe we think are the most complete in total after 7 weeks. In the Battle of Undefeateds, Pittsburgh took a 27-7 lead, targeting the likes of Juju Smith-Schuster and Deontay Johnson, who had 2 touchdowns. But Tennessee showed a lot of fight, and Big Ben threw 3 interceptions as the Titans had a chance to kick a field goal in the final seconds to tie, but missed it. And elsewhere, winter came early in Denver, but the snow and the Broncos were no match for the Chiefs. With Showtime Mahomes under pressure, the Chiefs leaned on defense and special teams, including a pick-6 by Daniel Sorensen and a 102-yard kickoff return touchdown by Byron Pringle. In all, KC scored 43 points. Mahomes was on the field for 12 of those. The Chiefs improved to 6-1 with their win in Denver, but they're still looking up at the Steelers for the early race to the best record in the AFC. Pittsburgh is the only remaining unbeaten team in the NFL after the win over the Titans, and they're going to head to Baltimore for a huge AFC North matchup with the 5-1 Ravens in Week 8. Booger. No, it's only week 7. We've got a long way to go. Now, you do not like to make predictions before Halloween.
Yes.
Just go out on a limb this time. Most complete team.
Pittsburgh. And I know people are going to be like, what about Mahomes? What about Lamar Jackson? Let's take a look at Pittsburgh offensively. They won yesterday, and the new star that we talked about, Chase Claypool, 1 catch, -2 yards. So they can do it offensively in a number of ways. Defensively, we know what that defense can do. Derrick Henry, see you later, buddy. They knocked Derrick Henry into whatever you want to call it, knocking out the run game. Special teams, Ray McLeod. Mike Tomlin talked about get him the football. You saw him with a couple big returns. So offensively, defensively, special teams, I think Pittsburgh is the best team. Now, that's not saying that Kansas City can't beat them, but do we really trust Kansas City's run defense in a real crunch time situations? Baltimore, do we trust Lamar if they're down 10, can Lamar bring them back? So the other teams are really good in the AFC. Kansas City's really good. Baltimore's really good. But do we trust pieces of those teams? I think Pittsburgh is the most complete team in the AFC right now.
Steve, most complete team?
Kansas City, no one's going to beat Kansas City unless Kansas City beats themselves. And that's already happened, 6-1. The one game they got beat by the Raiders, they just played really poorly, 3 and out a bunch of times. Booger, I love the Steelers. I picked them as a Super Bowl winning team, but I don't believe in the end that Ben Roethlisberger can pick up all of those first downs that Patrick Mahomes under pressure. You saw that game last night with the 2 mobile quarterbacks. There's so many yards to get from a quarterback position that even 5 years ago wasn't the case. And to not have somebody that can go get those when it gets down to crunch time. I believe all of those stars that the Kansas City Chiefs roll out of that offensive huddle is going to make all the difference, and Mahomes is the difference because he can go get the yards from a quarterback perspective.
Well, right now, Pittsburgh is the last unbeaten team in all of football. And Kansas City has lost a game. If we look at Pittsburgh's schedule down the stretch, plays Baltimore twice. We get past that, they play Cincinnati twice and Cleveland once. The non-division games left on the Pittsburgh Steelers schedule, the Dallas Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars, the Washington football team, the Buffalo Bills, and the Indianapolis Colts.
What are you saying there?
What I'm saying is it sets up for them to be in a position to be the #1 seed. And if they're the #1 seed, they are the only team in a new playoff format that gets a first-round bye. And if they don't get a first-round bye, they'll be a seed that's right on up there. Baltimore's got to go catch them starting this week, where Baltimore gets its first chance to play Pittsburgh in Baltimore this weekend.
Randy, let's say it's time for the AFC Championship game. It's tomorrow. It's the Steelers against the Chiefs. Who are you taking?
Well, just off the Steelers' performance, I have to go with Pittsburgh Steelers. The reason why is because of the front four and the havoc that they're able to cause. They're able to get after the quarterback. They're able to get back to the run game with 4 defensive linemen. So I look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Boogie, you made a great point. they're hitting on all three cylinders. Special teams is what really people don't really put their finger on it because it's not really a big factor in the game. But when you have a team hitting on all three cylinders, after the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kansas City, I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers because of their special teams.
Hey, what did you tell me about who was going to replace Devin Bush last week?
Spillane.
Oh, Spillane.
Spillane played.
Did you see that?
Spillane played.
Hold on. Excuse me, Adam. hey, Mr. Booger McFarland, you owe Mr. Spillane an apology.
We didn't think Robert Spillane could do it, but hey, put me on a single here.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Robert Spillane, hey, I'm going to apologize to you. Yes, the Pittsburgh Steelers will miss some forms or fashion of Devin Bush's game, but my man, what a lick in the hole on Derek Henry yesterday. My goodness. I mean, that was outstanding.
All right, then. Spillane, keep doing your thing, man. It's a fan over
Randy,
here.
you were on that.
All right.
All right, so we're talking about down the road, and we've mentioned that the Steelers have the Ravens next. You know who the Chiefs have next? It's homecoming. The Jets are coming to town.
Oh,
Jets
wow. So he said homecoming.
Well, hold on. She didn't say the resurgent Jets with Sam Darnold.
I mean, they were 0-7. What did?
Did they win?
They played well yesterday.
Okay, that's what we're going for now.
The resurgent
That's
Jets.
what we're going for.
The resurgent Jets.
So we also went ahead, a major headline coming off of Sunday. I mean, we know that the Cowboys are devastated by injury. It just keeps on getting worse. So what's the latest on Andy Dalton?
He is in concussion protocol. This is the first concussion that he's had. He did not go through practice today. He was in the building. He'll have to pass through that concussion protocol this weekend, or he will be unable to play Dallas's next game. And that obviously would set up a situation where they would have to go to their third string quarterback at this point in time. But right now, Andy Dalton is in the concussion protocol, and we'll see whether or not he can make it out of there in time.
All right, later, Adam, we're going to talk about the Cowboys and that hit and what's going on. But get to your next story. Good news for the Panthers here.
Christian McCaffrey back at practice today. And keep in mind, the Panthers are on a short week this week. Thursday night, Matt Rule said it's a possibility that he plays. Now, if they don't play him this week, get him 10 more days to rest up for the next game. But Thursday night is not out of the question for a man who's coming off a high ankle sprain. Would be a big boost for Carolina to get him back against Atlanta. And as for Kenyon Drake, basically tore a ligament in his ankle. He's going to miss at least a few weeks here. Was told that they're treating it like a high ankle sprain at this point in time, which means he'll be sidelined. He knew yesterday when he went down. He heard a pop in his ankle, and he got the news today, and Chase Edmonds will step in and become the featured back now in Arizona. And Chris Carson, of course, suffered a mild foot sprain that looks like sidelined him. Pete Carroll said that as well.
So much to get to on Monday Night Countdown. Arizona earned a statement win against Seattle on Sunday night. Our guys discuss if Kyler and the Cards are contenders in the NFC West. Plus, the Patriots suffered their worst home loss under Bill Belichick's tenure on Sunday against San Francisco. Is Tom Brady winning this breakup in Tampa Bay? And there are many ways to characterize the two-time Defensive Player of the Year. Take a listen at how these greats define
I think he's
Donald.
relentless.
It's scary.
Obviously, you can go with two words, the best.
Donald now calls this $5 billion beauty SoFi Stadium home. Can't wait to show it off under the blinding lights of Monday Night Football.
1, 2, 3.
'89 with the sack. Khalil Mack. Touchdown Bears.